Now, as always, we got to end the show with
Some
questions from our awesome Facebook group, facebook.com/group/nerdcavenetwork. We've got a few good ones here. This first one is from Gadiel, last name to be determined, that I cannot pronounce.
I think it's his gamer tag, as he said at one point.
Oh, okay. So the Nintendo Switch is coming out. Remember when Sony made the PS Vita because of Nintendo's Nintendo DS? Mm-hmm. So will they give the Vita another go?
Gadiel, that's a very
that's a good question.
I know that the Vita had success. I know the people, because I know Zach. Zach loves his Vita, and I know the guys over at Kinda Funny, they love it as well, and I know the followers of them enjoy it a lot. Like I've played my little brothers, and because I remember power going out and that being the only thing that we could watch a movie on when I was younger, and so it was like all of us were sitting in the living room watching a movie on a little tiny PSP screen. I think that they should try to bring it back, try to get some stuff going on it, but I just don't, with the DS and then the Switch coming out, I wouldn't see it doing well.
But I wonder if the Switch could mean the end of the DS. Because the Switch is going to be portable.
That is true, but I still think that they have a cash cow in Pokemon. They would have to port it over from the DS to the Switch, which would still be really cool. But I don't know if they'll do that just yet.
You know what could have been the ultimate bomb that Nintendo dropped?
Open world Pokemon.
Open world Pokemon, especially if it came out in not even at launch, maybe like April.
Yeah,
people would have been like, getting the Switch.
Like I'm already wanting to, but I would, if they had that, then that would just be the hearsay that I would be like, okay,
yeah,
that's all I need to know.
I never played the Vita, but I'd kind of like to see it make a little bit of a comeback because the handheld market is something that I feel like hasn't really been that relevant for a long time. Like when the Game Boy came out, it was huge.
Yeah, and
then the Game Boy Color. And then even the original DS that came out. And the 3DS, I think, is actually a really good system.
Yeah. But
I feel like in recent years, especially the last 4 or 5, the handheld market's just kind of been Like, we don't really talk about it that much.
And I mean, the only time we really talk about it is when big games like Pokemon come out and stuff like that. That's really when they become relevant. Because I mean, why would I? Because I have the DS and everything. Why would I go and play Smash Brothers when I can go to a friend who has a Wii U and play it with them? And same with Mario Kart. I would rather play it with a friend and not play it by myself on a DS. So, like I said, the only reason I dusted off my DS was for Pokemon. Yeah. And I mean, that's really the only reason anybody does, really.
Yeah. So. Derek Daniel. We answered this question, but he asked, I know Zach's feeling on the presentation, but getting to the nitty-gritty, what did you think of the Switch, the console itself, and the games they showed at the presentation? And what stood out to you besides the lack of info? We talked about that at the top of the show. I am very curious to debate that with Zach.
I know.
Because we were actually talking, I'm like, that could potentially get a little salty.
We just have to see.
I got to take a deep breath for this one.
Is that a Derek Daniel post?
From Derek Daniel.
Yeah.
All right, so continuing with the Switch conversation, I have a hypothetical thesis question.
No, of course he does.
Disclaimer, before I start, I don't necessarily believe this will happen. It's just something I thought of to turn discussion. What if Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild ends up being a disappointment? Hear me out. Most of what they have shown has been the vast open world and the amazing detail, at least that I've seen, but where's the fine details? We have barely seen anything as far as the story and new mechanics they are implementing. They're just pushing only certain aspects of the game without telling us the whole story, which got me thinking, what other game pretty much was all graphics, no gameplay? The Order 1886. All they did for that game was talk about the graphics and the amazing world they created. However, the story and gameplay mechanics were lackluster and vanilla. Now, do I believe Zelda will be that bad? No, but seeing those similarities make it to where it at least could be one of the weaker titles in the franchise. It's no secret that the Switch lineup outside Switch launch lineup is extremely weak outside of Zelda, and maybe Nintendo saw that in the cards and hit the panic button and said, push Zelda out. We need a reason for people to buy our new console. So maybe that plays a factor. Like I said, I do not believe this will be true. At least I hope it won't end up like this. It's mainly just food for thought. Side note, that week will be crazy as the Tuesday before Breath of the Wild comes out, Horizon Zero Dawn is releasing.
Now, I'm trying to find, it's a game that had come out in 2016.
Now, I remember the Order 1886 because look-wise, I actually really wanted to play that game because I have this fascination with like the Victorian era time, and having that with weapons I thought was awesome. And then I read reviews of it and they're like, oh, this game is terrible. So I never got it.
No Man's Sky. I was like, I had forgotten the name because it's been that irrelevant to me. How it just completely was different from what they said it was. And Derek, Daniel, I understand where you're coming from, that it is hesitant for me. I mean, I still want to get the game. I still want to get the Switch. I mean, it looks amazing. But it is a little skeptical that they have not released much going into
that's
detail
a good point.
About the story. And, you know, we had talked about it a little bit on the show today. I would like to see more of the story so that it's not just like, oh, look at these cool graphics and look at what we're doing. We're sliding on a shield, and then it just not have a story that's worth anything. Yeah. And, we've seen multiple games, like I just said, No Man's Sky, Order
1886.
And, they've built us up and they let us down so much. And I really hope, and I don't think Nintendo's going to drop the ball on this. I hope not. They know what's riding on these games and the system, so I feel like they're going to put some work in on that story. Or they have put work in on the story.
I don't think this game will bomb, but if it does, it will be the biggest disappointment that Nintendo has ever put out, period.
I agree, and that's when they will no longer be making consoles, and then they will start making games for the other consoles, I believe.
I agree.
And, not saying that, I mean, I would love to have freaking Smash Brothers on my Xbox, but, I want Nintendo to be a property in itself.
Yes.
Successful, so.
Last question also comes from Derek Daniel. Thoughts on the announcement that Street Pass and Miiverse are not going to be on the Switch? I never got into the whole Miiverse thing. Yeah, it's basically you create your little Mii, and you have it's kind of like their version of a gamer profile. I was kind of on it anyway, so it's no big deal to me.
We also had that app that came out where you were able to be like your little...
Oh, Miitomo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a terrible game.
Yeah, I didn't last like a week and a half on that thing.
Now, I will say, people were complaining about the price for Mario Run. I have been playing that every day since it came out.
I need to get the
Toad Rally is so much fun.
Where you play against people?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Anytime I complete something and I get more little tokens to play it, I play it. But I just need to break down and get the game. I mean, it just looks so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. Like, to me, it's worth the money that I put in to get it. But that's it. That's all we got for today.
All right, bye, guys. Nah.
No, that was a good show. That was episode 193, 7 away from 200.
Getting close.
Yeah, we're getting closer. We'll do something big for it. Just pay attention to social media.
Shirtless show.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I am too.
I want to sit next to you though.
All right. It'll be warm. I have a fur coat.
But no, guys, you can follow us all over social media. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at NerdCaveVids. And as before we mentioned, our awesome Facebook group where you can join and talk nerdy stuff with us, leave us topics to talk about on the podcast, facebook.com/group/NerdCaveNetwork. How about you tell us about our awesome YouTube channels?
Guys, we have 2 separate YouTube channels. I can't speak today.
It's okay.
But one is Nerd Cave Gaming, and the other one's just Nerd Cave. All our movie and other news goes to Nerd Cave, and Nerd Cave Gaming gets our Let's Plays and our game news. So be sure to go out and subscribe to both of those. We're churning out content left and right. What you are listening to, if you're listening to the podcast form, is broken up throughout the week, and it goes on Nerd Cave. So if you want to check those out, you are more than welcome to. And also, we are on Patreon, and we have a ton. And when I say a ton, I mean a ton of really good, things that you can get all the way from $1 all the way up to $50 or $100, whatever you are able to donate helps us. Like we're trying to build a backdrop and everything like that, and we're looking at about $300 for that. So between this and even if you just start an Audible account using our trial, not code, but just the website, they will give us money for you using that. So even if you just want to download that one book, I mean, that works too. Whatever we can get to make this better. Like that's what we're striving for, is to make this show, the podcast, the YouTube, I mean, everything just better.
Also, something new that's been added to the Patreon. Every Thursday, I've started putting up old episodes of this show. I like to call it, I guess, the pre-Robbie era before you joined. So all the episodes that did not feature Robbie, like before Robbie came on board, it goes back from 0 up to I think like 80 something. Mm-hmm. Like I think 80 or 81 was your first episode.
Gosh, I didn't think I'd been here that long. Mm-hmm. I have been here for a while.
Yeah. So it's kind of our Throwback Thursday that we have on Patreon. So you can check that out. Also, early access to video and audio forms of this podcast. Just go to patreon.com/nerdcave to find out all about the tiers, if you will. Excuse me, I'm starting to burp like crazy. And speaking of podcasts, you can check out all of our various podcasts we have. We have a lot of podcasts. Every Monday, we have Nerd Cave Retro with myself and Jason Robbins. We discuss retro gaming. This week, I'll be reviewing Star Fox. The original Star Fox for Super Nintendo, one of the most difficult games I've ever played.
Can you do a barrel roll?
I can do a barrel roll anytime you want.
Nice.
On Tuesdays, we have my solo show, The Derek Diamond Experience, and this week I'll be talking with two filmmakers who, back when they were kids, created a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it took them like 7 summers to do.
Dang. And
recently they did a Kickstarter, and they were able to fund money to finish the movie by doing the airplane scene. So they were able to actually, years and years later, they're obviously adults now.
Yeah.
They were able to go back and finish their movie. Really, really cool and inspiring story. Throughout the off season, me and Robbie will be doing episodes of Fantasy Football for Nerds. Those will be on Wednesdays. We haven't really come up with a set schedule yet, so you'll have to tune into social media.
Yeah, and once Fantasy Football kicks back up, then we'll be probably back to our weekly.
Yeah.
But as of right now, we're going to hit the major talking points, which is the agency, the rookie
draft
signings and all that stuff. So
yeah,
stay tuned.
Yeah, and on Thursdays we have our wrestling show, Battle of the Brands, with myself, Adam Gumbert, and Nick Caputo. Friday is this show, the Nerd Cave Podcast. And on Saturdays, we have our friends over at the Pop Culture Palette, and all of those shows are available on every podcasting platform: iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and iHeartRadio.
Nice. I was looking at myself with the glare off that light with it going over my one eye. I feel like I'm like David Bowie from that album cover where he has like the red. So, yeah.
Rest in peace, David Bowie.
Just thought I'd bring that up.
All right, guys. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you for joining us for another fantastic episode of the Nerd Cave Podcast. This has been Derek.
And Robbie.
Have a week.